Happy Sunday, everyone. How's it going? WWE Saturday night's main event for November 1st, 2025 is in the books, and we're here the next day to talk about it. I apologize for interrupting football right now. A lot of NFL football going on for us here in the States, but I had a really, really busy week at work, and this was the only time I really had to set aside to come and talk about Saturday night's main event because we've got a watch-along to do tonight. We're going to be back. We're going to try to bust out this review in an hour-ish, maybe a little bit longer, and then we will regroup and be back here at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific for our classic watch-along, which I will tell you about in just 1 second. But happy Sunday to you. This is going to be the closest thing you're going to get to a Winged Eagle podcast this week because of the busy week I had. So we're going to focus primarily on last night's show. We're going to talk about the 4 big matches and the 2 new world champions that we have crowned and the circumstances surrounding Saturday night's main event as we head into Survivor Series. And we're also going to talk about the big news that we weren't really expecting last night, but we got an announcement on what the plans are now for John Cena's final match. And it put a lot of things into perspective. And the rumor of the tournament, which was first reported by our friend Uncle Dave, did turn out to be true, and they are going to be holding a tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent on Saturday night's main event in December. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the tournament, when it kicks off, who might be involved in that tournament, and who ultimately his final opponent will turn out to be. And I've got some big opinions, too, on who I think his opponent should be for Survivor Series. So we'll talk about all of that here today. And this should be fun. So let me know what you guys thought of the show. I thought it was okay. I mean, these are weird Peacock specials. They're kind of glorified Raws, pseudo pay-per-views. I don't know really how to categorize them, but this one was a lot different. This was not on NBC. It was merely streamed on Peacock last night, and we only had 4 matches. So I thought that we were going to get something else added, maybe a match or 2 on SmackDown on Friday, but we did not. So the 4 matches that I predicted on YouTube on Thursday turned out to be, or I guess on Friday, turned out to be the only 4 we had. I did go perfect in my predictions, although I can't really pat myself on the back that much because this, in my estimation anyway, was an extremely easy show to predict. So I don't think I really was a genius for picking all these matches right because they were all kind of obvious to me. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about everything here in just a minute, but just wanted to welcome you and thank you for being here on a random Sunday afternoon in the middle of football. So I'm not going to be butthurt if we don't have a huge audience in here today because I know a lot of people are distracted on Sunday afternoons, but it is good to see Gilbert Arbala. We got Garrett Osborne and Melissa Hernandez in here. Zane G is in the house. So is Tatanani. Good to see Colin Wright. Greetings from England, WUK. Zane, got you already. Good to see you, bro. Ryan Adams, yes. First, I had to watch the fucking Dodgers win the World Series when I thought they got outplayed. And then today, the Lions get upset at home by the fucking Vikings, a game that I thought was a gimme because I feel like the Packers are going to be, the ones fighting with the Lions in the NFC North. But now here come the Vikings and score a win in Detroit. So congratulations to you, Ryan Adams. Shit happens. I'm happy for you. You're a good you're a good subscriber, so I'm not going to be shitting on the Vikings here, even though I am. I was reminded like a lot in the last 24 hours why I really stopped watching sports, or at least stopped caring. I shouldn't say I stopped watching because I still eyeball everything, but I used to be dialed in, like the biggest sports fan in the world. I watched everything. And then when YouTube came around and I got a little older and I just stopped fucking caring as much, and now I go a whole entire season without even knowing who's in first place and shit, and I barely even pay attention. I don't know any of the players in the NBA or the NFL, all the top running backs and receivers, point guards and whatnot, all the rookies coming through. I am so lost on that shit, and I have been pretty much out of the game since about 2012. I would say 2013 is when my attention started to fade away from really following sports heavily. But last night, watching that fucking game, I live in Southern California, so I have a bar full of Dodgers fans going apeshit right here in San Diego. And I'm just reminded of why I kind of don't care about sports anymore, because I just don't like it sometimes. And I was just, I fucking hate the Dodgers. And then, of course, the Lions today lose and, whatever. So it's much easier when you don't care about stuff. That way you don't bother yourself with it. It's not life to you, and I don't know. The fucking Dodgers, man. Won it again. Out there buying championships, whatever. Good to see Domo 1997 as well. William Cullen, David Brown, Nick Musser is here. Nick Steele is here. We got Ben Espinoza, Denny Downbat in the house. Yankees fan 512. Guess who I met? Actually, he was in back-to-back nights. I met him last night and the night before. Jimmy Key, former pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, incidentally, and the New York Yankees, who he did win a World Series with them. And as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure one of the years the Yankees won the World Series, they beat David Justice and the Braves, and David Justice was just in last week. So it would have been cool to get them together. But I met Jimmy Key the last couple of nights at work. Good to see Michael Games as well, Jacob A., and anybody else chiming in today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, we're going to be back later here for a watch-along. And here's what's going on with the watch-alongs. I have already booked the entire month of November out for watch-alongs. It's going to be Survivor Series month on the channel. And we are going to start off with a big one tonight, one we have not done. We're going to be back at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific to watch Survivor Series 1999. We're going to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin get run over by the car, and we're going to watch the Big Show win the championship in the main event. That's going to be tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. 1 week from tonight, which will be November 9th. We're going to watch Survivor Series 1997. This will be the actual anniversary of Survivor Series 1997, 1 week from tonight, next Sunday, November 9th. The Sunday after that, November 16th, we're going to watch Survivor Series 2005. A lot of you guys have been suggesting this one for a lot of years, so I thought I'd finally stick it on the calendar. And 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to watch Survivor Series 2005. 3 weeks from tonight, on the 23rd, we are going to watch the very first ever Survivor Series. Survivor Series 1987. We have not watched that one either. I have a lot of memories, personal memories of this show from when I was just 10 years old. And we're going to watch that as our final Survivor Series of the month, because the final week, or the week after this one of Survivor Series 87, when we watch that one on the 23rd, that's going to be November 30th, which will be the day after this year's Survivor Series on November 29th. So on the 30th, we're not going to do a watch-along, at least I don't think. We're probably just going to do a long podcast of my review and experience at Survivor Series, because I'm going to be there at Petco Park watching that whole thing, and we'll be up here on Sunday the 30th to talk all about it and what my experience was like, and of course the results and everything that happened on Survivor Series. So that's what I've got planned for November 30th. And then my final announcement before we get into the Saturday Night's Main Event review here. I've made a decision for December. What we're going to do in December, and I'm putting all this together right now and getting it all organized. But what we're going to do for December for watch-alongs is, because we always struggle in December to find watch-alongs to do. Sure, we can do some Starcades and whatnot, but we've done a lot of them already, and WWE has never really had any great pay-per-views in December. So I think what we're going to do is we are going to make December WWE Vault Month on the channel. So every Sunday when we normally do our watch-alongs, what we're going to do is we're going to watch a handful of matches from WWE or WCW's Vault channel. Or really, it doesn't even have to be them. I would prefer it be the Vault channels, but really it can be any wrestling match on YouTube at all. Really any wrestling match on YouTube at all. We're going to watch a handful of matches every Sunday on YouTube. These matches will be handpicked by you guys. I'm going to give channel members, obviously, first crack at suggestions. Also, super chats are going to get high consideration. And I'm also going to come up with some rules. If you super chat a certain amount, we're going to watch your match automatically. You know, that type of thing. And I'm going to put up posts and allow the members to go on YouTube, find matches that they might think would be fun for us to watch, suggest them, and then I will make a list every week. I'm like, okay, this Sunday we're going to watch these 5 matches, these 6 matches, these 8 matches, depending on how long they are. And we'll make these, 3-ish hour long watch-alongs, but we'll do a different match every time. So I'm going to want to know this going into it. I'm still figuring out a way to do it live. We might just stop what we're doing and all watch a match, somebody requests one, but I think what I want to do is know the matches going in that we're going to watch. That way I can provide links to you guys in the description with everything that all the links that you're going to need to take you to that match so you can watch it with us. So that's going to be December, and I'll put all the information up there as we get near the end of November. But for watch-alongs, we're going to do that all through the holidays. So it's going to be WWE and WCW Vault, or basically just YouTube Wrestling Month on the channel, where we're just going to pick matches and watch them. Even if they're matches that we've already watched on pay-per-view watch-alongs before, it doesn't matter. If they get suggested or whatever, or I like it, or I like the idea, or we can come up with a fun, conglomeration of matches. That's what we're going to do all through the month of December. So I will let you guys know more details on that once I hammer it out and figure out exactly how I'm going to organize it. But it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. But this month, we're going to bust out 4 Survivor Series starting tonight. Well, I think we should talk about the show now, right? Last night, Saturday night's main event was in Salt Lake City, Utah. And this, of course, was going to be headlined by the big Jey Uso and CM Punk match to crown the vacant World Heavyweight Champion, crown the new World Heavyweight Champion, since the title was vacated by Seth Rollins due to his injury. Now, I had speculated in the podcasts and in my predictions that this should be the main event. It really should, because we have a guaranteed, or at least you would think we're going to have a guaranteed new world champion, so it should be the main event, and it was, which means that Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre would open up the show. But before we talk about that match, let's talk about the image that's on your screen right now. How about after Saturday night's main event? They took this incredible group picture that you see right here of Jade Cargill, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Ricky Starks. These are 4 out of the 5 current world champions in the company right now. The only one missing is Stephanie Vaquer, who has also had a match in AEW, but she was never signed with them. These 4 were all contracted top-level talents in AEW, and they are all world champions in WWE. This is a very elite picture. This is one of my favorite pictures, backstage pictures, since the one they did all those years ago. Remember, maybe like 2010 or something, with Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Kofi, all of these champions back in like 2010 or maybe it was 2012, something like that. I think it was probably 2012. And had all those champions. You guys remember the pick I'm talking about. But this is probably my favorite pick since that one. And I think it looks awesome. It's just wild that all these people were in AEW at one point, and this is what's so cool about the business. A lot of younger fans, they're kind of experiencing shit like this for the first time, but you could have done the same picture 30 years ago in WCW with Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, all with championship belts around their waist, or Bret Hart or whoever. Think about, all of the stars of the WWE in the early 90s that were in WCW in the late 90s. It's similar. And so it's cool to see the business back to this point, because before AEW was here, this picture would mean nothing. So it's cool that we're living in a world where companies can sign talent and maybe make them into stars, or maybe run the ball where the other company fumbled. And you can see that on both sides. But this picture especially is just cool looking. I just think it's cool looking. So I'm glad that they snapped that picture, and they're probably all having a nice little chuckle of, boy, if you would have just told us 4 years ago that this is what we'd be doing, nobody would have bought it for a second. And to think that Cody and Punk and Jade felt like a foundation in AEW, and the fact that they're all here now is just wild. And now they're all currently world champions, and that is just crazy. And let's start with the biggest champion, the WWE World Champion, the WWE Undisputed Champion, whatever the fuck they're calling it now, Cody Rhodes. He and Drew McIntyre were up first. Cody defending his championship in another match against Drew McIntyre. And on SmackDown on Friday night, they did a contract signing, I believe, right? And that's where Drew had goaded Cody into more stipulations here. So Drew got Cody to agree that if he loses via disqualification or countout, he would lose the championship. So that did make fans wonder, geez, could we actually see a title change here? I would have loved for McIntyre to win the title, but one thing that I can't stop thinking about is this is a Peacock show. WWE has moved all their PLEs now to ESPN. They're on to bigger and better things. Saturday night's main event is not even going to be airing on NBC on live television anymore. This is a Peacock special, only 4 matches. Triple H is not even present for this thing, and I had a hard time believing that on a Peacock show that's not even one of their new ESPN PLEs, on a night with only 4 matches, on a night where we're already guaranteed 1 new champion, and it's going head-to-head with Game 7 of the World Series, I would have found it very surprising if we would have seen the 3 biggest championships in the company all change hands on this show. So I think what they did on Friday, that them adding that stipulation, was just to try to plant some seeds of doubt in the fans that maybe McIntyre could actually win the championship here. But if you really do the math and you look at the big picture, there was no fucking way that Cody was going to drop the title here last night. And then when the match opened the show, that was almost your guarantee that they might do something funny here in the match, but there's no way Cody Rhodes will not walk out the champion. I did think prior to that stipulation being announced that there could be a DQ or a disqualification, or I'm sorry, a DQ or a count out that might force them to run the match back at Survivor Series. But now, given what we saw, this was a really good match, by the way. I thought Cody and Drew had a pretty good one, but it wasn't. It was very similar to WrestlePalooza. And this was Cody, in so many words, beating Drew McIntyre clean. Think about what happened at WrestlePalooza. The announce table thing was involved and whatnot, but it was essentially a clean-ish win, about as clean as you can get. Now they've got this stipulation, no count out or count out and DQ, you will lose the title. And Drew was trying to take advantage of that very early by trying to get Cody counted out on purpose early on in the match. But then as the match progressed, of course, we get the ref bump. Got to have that ref bump, and that's when Drew McIntyre went and introduced the title belt. So after the ref, they kind of teased the ref bump a couple of times too, because Cody had ran up on the ref. I think maybe he was going for like that running super Cody cutter or whatever from the top, and the ref was in his way, and he kind of stopped short and kind of sold the knee, like he might have tweaked his knee a little bit, but then he kind of recovered and wound up hitting the super cutter anyway. So they were kind of teasing a ref bump there, or teasing, Drew trying to shove the Cody into the ref to get himself, or to get Cody disqualified. So they teased a little bit of that, but eventually Cody did squish the referee in the corner, and the referee, of course, is out unconscious. McIntyre then goes and introduces the belt, tries to hit Cody with it, but Cody ducks. And then they do this this double high cross body spot where they just pancake themselves in the air. They fall to the mat, and all 3 men are down, Cody, Drew, and the referee, and the belt is laying there. So Drew starts stirring first. He starts crawling his way towards the belt, and that's when Cody gets up. Referee is still down, mind you. Cody gets up, and Drew is in perfect DDT position. He just grabs Drew and DDTs him, and he happens to land headfirst on the belt. So Drew McIntyre gets DDT'd on the belt. Of course, the referee now miraculously comes to. Cody Rhodes picks Drew McIntyre up and hits him with just 1, count 'em, crossroads for the win. And he retains the championship. Now, this was fine. This was a good match and everything. But if you're a Drew McIntyre fan, I think you might have been a little bit disappointed by this outcome, because one thing that I was wondering is that it doesn't appear from where we sit right now that Cody Rhodes is going to be involved in the War Games match unless the Rollins injury has changed plans and he's now factored in. Unless the Rollins injury has changed it and they've moved it to the Wyatt 6 and MFTs in the War Games. I hope not, but they might do that. But it didn't feel like Cody was factored into War Games. So if he's not factored into War Games, I'm curious what the hell he's going to do at Survivor Series. He's going to have to defend the title, and he's been involved with McIntyre for so long now. Randy Orton has also been a part of this, that I don't know how they're going to wrap all that up, and then Cody's going to start something brand new for Survivor Series. Now, granted, Survivor Series is still nearly a month away, so there is time. It's not like it's a 2-week turnaround or anything. But I was kind of assuming that maybe they would do something here, like have Randy Orton interfere or come out there or be a part of some sort of a finish here, to where they can either run Cody and Drew back or run a triple threat. Or maybe have Randy Orton come out at the end of this, RKO Cody, turn heel finally, and then they do Cody and Orton again, but we already got that. We already got Cody and Orton. I don't think, Orton turning heel on Cody now. I don't know. I just don't know. So the fact that McIntyre took the loss in the way he did, I mean, how many more losses is this guy going to suffer? I don't feel like they did enough in this match to justify them running it back at Survivor Series now. They might. Drew might come out and whine and cry on SmackDown that you hit me with the belt, but you're the one that brought it in. Cody hit you with a DDT. The belt, he didn't bring the belt in. He didn't bring the belt in, lay it down, and then purposely DDT you on it. You were crawling on the mat. Cody got up, took advantage of you in a prone position, DDT'd you. The belt just happened to be there. So it's really a clean win if you ask me. The belt was in the ring, sure, but it was McIntyre who put it there. It'd be the same concept. It would be the same purpose if McIntyre then, had gone over and exposed one of the ring turnbuckle pads, or took it off. Took off one of the turnbuckle pads, exposing the steel there. We've seen that trope 100 times too, where the heel takes it off, but the babyface uses it. Well, that's your fucking fault. Cody shouldn't have to worry about, there's no turnbuckle pad there, so I better not ram his face in there. Cody's just doing his job. McIntyre took it off. So, if he winds up getting rammed into it, that's the game you play, doing something like that. So when it comes to the belt, it's the same thing. So Cody beat Drew, and in my mind, there is no reason to do this match again at Survivor Series, which sucks because I don't know what this leaves Drew to do now. As a top contender, I was really hoping that he would still win one more world championship. But man, now with Brock back and everything, I don't know. Unless the story here is that Drew is going to lose all of these opportunities, and then finally win it at some point. But I feel like that ship has sailed type of thing. I feel like you've beaten Drew now too many times, and I don't know what else you can do to really convince us that he is the guy that should be the world champion above anybody else. Cody put him down pretty much twice on back-to-back events. One's a PLE, one's a Saturday Night's Main Event, and I don't really know where you go from here. But I feel like they're going to have to go somewhere else. I feel like McIntyre is still going to have some complaining to do on SmackDown. So we'll see. They might, in fact, run it back at Survivor Series. They might. We will see. But it was a pretty good match. I'll give them that. Here's another match that was really good. The reason it was good is because it was booked exactly the way it should have been booked. This was Tiffany Stratton defending her WWE Women's Championship, of course, against Jade Cargill, who recently had turned heel, came out and attacked Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany's got a hurt leg. Prior to the match, prior to Tiffany going out there, they cut backstage to Nick Aldis, asking her one final time, are you sure you want to go out there? I mean, she's in her gear. What if she said no? What, did he just cancel the match? I don't even know why he was asking her that at this stage, but he's asking her if she still wants to do it and she wants to go through with it, and she says, yeah, she's a fighting champion, and she's heading out there. So she's going out there, injured leg and all, and we get the big introductions here, of course, because it's a championship match. I should have mentioned earlier on, I did not, but Lillian Garcia was our ring announcer for this, as she's been on all these Saturday Night's Main Events, and they had the drop-down microphone, which I thought was a nice touch. Also, I mentioned earlier, there was no Triple H on this show. There was also no Jesse the Body Ventura. I think last time he was doing a lot of bitching in that cage match or whatnot with Damian Priest, right? I think WWE just kind of realizes that, Jesse doesn't play by the same irrational logic that wrestling does, and when he sees something stupid, he doesn't know how to play it off anymore like he used to back in the day, and he was never even good at it back then. So Jesse's very always matter of fact and being like, yo, what the fuck? And so I don't think they want him on there bitching about any referees or bitching about any funny finishes, especially if Triple H isn't there to maybe, get a handle on everything, or to rein him in or whatever. So there was no Jesse Ventura, no Triple H, no Joe Tessitore either. It was Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on the call. So I wanted to mention that apparently Triple H was not even attending this show, which is kind of funny. There's a few shows that he's missed recently. But Tiffany and Jade is the next match. And this was great because this was this was I don't want, maybe glorified squash would be an appropriate term. I don't know, how you'd want to categorize this, but this was basically Jade just dominating Tiffany. Now, Tiffany came out swinging, right off the bat, but Jade quickly overcame her and wound up just putting a hurting on her. A lot of moves, fall away slams and choke slams, and it was just basically her methodically smashing Tiffany Stratton. And Tiffany had a couple of moments there, flurries of offense. I saw somebody comparing it to John Cena and Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2014. It's very close. It actually is. It did remind me that a little bit. I feel like even Cena might have had a little bit more offense than Tiffany did in this one. She only had a couple of flurries there that Jade just snuffed out instantly. And Jade, she looks really badass with that scar. I mean, that's one of the worst scars I've ever seen in wrestling. I'm wondering if she'll ever get that fixed or something, because it's right across her like eyebrow and it's still there. I don't know if WWE's giving her the championship because they feel bad about the scar or whatever, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. But I think her turning heel, how is she going to come out there and lose to Tiffany after this? Especially, the year that Tiffany has had. She's had a lot of wins. Tiffany has been very, very protected. She beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. She's already beaten Jade Cargill as well. So Tiffany, was ripe. She really was ripe. And it would have been odd to me had she won here. So in the end, it was Jade Cargill smashing Tiffany with a couple of power bombs in a row, and then picks her up and hits her with the Jaded and does her pin and the arm lick thing, and she wins the championship. And I'm happy that Jade has finally gotten the title. WWE knew the moment they signed this woman that she's going to have to carry the championship, and if she wasn't going to be ready to carry it, and she wasn't ever going to be physically maybe up to the task, then I kind of thought WWE would give her just kind of like a quick run. And, even with this here, I was like, they're putting the belt on Jade, not at WrestleMania, not at SummerSlam, but on Saturday night's main event on a 4-match Peacock show going head-to-head with the World Series. Maybe they didn't want this match on an ESPN PLE, so, a journalist wouldn't give Jade's match a bad review or something, but this match was excellently booked. Jade looked good in it, and Tiffany did her job of getting, squashed in this, and it went exactly the way it needed to go. Now Jade Cargill is the new women's champion, and she's probably going to carry that belt into WrestleMania, because if this isn't the year that we get Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair, then I don't know when the hell it's going to be, because Bianca is due back very soon. And this is almost like the perfect amount of time. I think when Bianca comes back, you don't dive right into Jade and Bianca, but you kind of slowly build, maybe their issue, get them some segments on TV or whatnot, and then you simply have Bianca win the Rumble or win the Chamber, and, she can challenge Jade. So I think Jade and Bianca is the match they need to do at WrestleMania, with Bianca getting the win on Jade. But between now and then, Jade is now your women's champion. She's going to have some title defenses, and she's going to successfully defend these titles, and I fully expect her to have a rematch versus Tiffany Stratton at some point, especially when Tiffany is healthy. So Jade is going to have to survive a rematch with Tiffany, plus a program with another woman, at least one, before she starts her program with Bianca Belair heading into WrestleMania. That's what I believe is the case here. But Jade is now the new WWE Women's Champion. That is just a wild sentence to say, because Jade Cargill, she signed 2 years ago, right? Wasn't around November-ish? Wasn't around the end of 2023? Do I have that right? When she came in? When did Punk come back? Punk's been back for 2 years then, huh? When did Jade come in? Why do I feel like she came in after Punk? Or did they kind of come in at the same time? I don't fucking remember. But I feel like Jade and Punk now, or Jade has been there about 2 years-ish. So now she's finally champion. And I think that was the plan all along, was for her to eventually be world champion. And then it was up to her, how that legacy was going to, how that legacy is going to grow. If she's just going to spend a couple of years in WWE, or how she's going to perform as world champion, and if she's going to be able to measure up with some of the other women there. And at least for this match with Tiffany, I thought it was really, really well done. Congrats to Jade Cargill, who does have me blocked on Twitter, by the way, which makes me sad, but still, congrats to Jade Cargill. All right, up next, It is Dominic Mysterio, our boy, our hometown boy here, our San Diego boy, Dominic Mysterio, defending once again his Intercontinental Championship against two guys that have had as many championship opportunities at Dom's IC as Drew has had at Cody's WWE Championship, Penta and Rusev. This is a triple threat. I like this match. This was a lot of fun. You knew Dom was going to survive. I was not expecting him to drop the Intercontinental Championship here again on Saturday night's main event. On a show like this, in a triple threat with Penta and Rusev, nothing was pointing to either of these guys winning that Intercontinental Championship from Dom, so I knew he was going to survive. How was he going to survive? If you've noticed, Dominic is winning these matches more and more legit, with each title defense. Yes, he is still resorting to some Eddie Guerrero type of tricks, but he's not winning these matches on flukes. Yes, he's taking a little bit of a shortcut, kick to the balls, hammer to the face, whatever. But he's not, he's a formidable opponent now. He's not one of those heels that is completely overmatched in every match he's in and needs to cheat to win. He has given himself a pretty healthy Intercontinental Championship run here, guys. He won this belt at WrestleMania. It's November. And he's still champion. You do not see a lot of Intercontinental title runs lasting that long in modern times. It took 30-something years for Gunther to beat Honky's record. So even having like a 250 or 300-day IC title run is incredibly rare. So Dom is on a roll with this thing, and he's winning his matches, and he's becoming more and more of a credible opponent. This guy is the fucking future, I'm telling you, and he is my pick to win next year's Money in the Bank match on my birthday, and that'll lead him to World Championship gold. That is my belief. So here, I was not expecting Dominic to win. How was he going to win? How was he going to pull this off? This was great. So Dominic and Penta and Rusev, they're having a fine match here. This match is perfectly entertaining. Nothing wrong with it at all. Typical WWE triple threat type of match. Nothing too special. Dominic is tossed out of the ring or something. He's nowhere to be found, and it's Rusev and Penta in the ring. Rusev locks Penta in the accolade, and the referee is checking with Penta, and then the bell rings. So Rusev thinks that Penta has submitted, and he's celebrating, but his music is not playing. Lillian's not announcing him as the winner. The referee isn't raising his hand, but Rusev is stupid enough to think that he must have won here. So the referee is like, no, what are you talking about? He didn't give up. And the camera pans over to the timekeeper's area and sees Dom. Dom with his hammer. Dom's got the hammer, and he was the one. I don't think it's the timekeeper's hammer. I think it's the hammer they've been using in these matches, right? So he's got the hammer, and he rings the bell, and so he's laughing. Rusev comes out there, gets a hold of Dom, and just starts throwing him all over the fucking ringside area. And they're all back in the ring now. And Rusev is going after Dom. Penta winds up getting the hammer, and he goes to hit Dominic in the face with the hammer. Dominic ducks. He nails Rusev instead. Dominic disposes of Penta, climbs to the top, hits the frog splash on Rusev, and retains the Intercontinental Championship. My man. By the way, he's still the AAA Mega Champion as well. So Dominic wins yet again. He is my favorite professional wrestler right now. Dominic in WWE, Will Ospreay in AEW, but Will Ospreay's not even there. So I might go like Takeshita or something in AEW, but I really, really like Dominic, have for a while, and this is just another successful title defense for Dom, and he's the man. Now, things are going to get really interesting storyline-wise for him when Liv Morgan comes back. It feels like they've pulled back a little bit off some of that Roxanne Perez teasing, to where maybe, they're not going to do the same thing with Liv and Roxanne that they did with Liv and Rhea. But when Liv comes back, there is going to be an interesting dynamic there for Dominic and her, since she's been absent for so long. And in terms of Dominic's future, we're going to talk about the next segment here in just a minute, John Cena's final match. But before John Cena gets to his final match, he has to work Survivor Series. And Dominic has been a rumored opponent for John Cena, and I think that would be fantastic. John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio in Dominic's hometown in Petco Park in a baseball stadium. Dominic gets to wrestle the greatest of all time. And the match could very well be for the one championship that John Cena has never won the Intercontinental Championship. Now, one thing I cannot see happening is John Cena winning the Intercontinental Championship and then dropping it to whoever he faces as his last opponent, because Dominic should not be dropping that IC title. So, and I don't believe Dominic will be John Cena's final opponent. I still believe it'll be Gunther, but we'll talk about the whole tournament thing in a minute. But in terms of Survivor Series, Dominic should be John Cena's opponent, and I have an even better idea. I love this idea. I pitched it on Twitter, and of course you get the Pavlovian response, John Cena doesn't need it. You guys have got to fucking think bigger picture than that. So my idea, and I don't think this will happen, I think the John Cena and Dominic match at Survivor Series will happen, but I'm going to go one better here. John Cena has a couple of Raws coming up. The first one is a week from tomorrow in Boston. That's when the 16-man tournament kicks off in Boston. The week after that is Madison Square Garden. What I'm pitching is one final match for John Cena in Madison Square Garden. One final match, November 17th Raw. I have that date right? 2 weeks from tomorrow. Correct? Monday Night Raw, Madison Square Garden, John Cena is advertised. How about you do John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio in the main event of Monday Night Raw in Madison Square Garden for the Intercontinental Championship, and John Cena wins it. He wins the one title that he has never won, and he wins it in the world's most famous arena, in WWE's most famous arena, in his final match in that most famous arena. He wins the Intercontinental Championship, the same arena that he won the U.S. Championship from Big Show. How many other championships has John Cena won in Madison Square Garden? I can only think of that one. But winning the one belt that has eluded him in Madison Square Garden in the main event of Raw on November 17th, and now John Cena is your new Intercontinental Champion. He then goes into Survivor Series to defend that championship against Dominic, and Dominic wins it back. That's what you do. That gets that's so many birds with one stone. You put Cena and Dom in Madison Square Garden. Cena wins the title, but then Dom gets it back in Petco Park. 50,000 of his hometown fans watching that. He beats the greatest of all time. And when I mention this on Twitter, of course, you're going to have the fans that all share the same type of line of thinking. Oh, he doesn't. It's not about him needing it. It's about creating a cool moment. It's about creating a cool memory. John Cena is about to hang him up for good 100%, never to be getting physical in the ring ever again. It's not going to kill any fan for him to win the Intercontinental Championship for a week, just so he can have that on his resume and not have to retire without ever winning that. Because as it stands right now, John Cena and Sheamus are both going to retire without ever winning that fucking belt. So if John Cena were to win it in Madison Square Garden, then you run it back, you do a rematch at Petco and have Dom win. That's how you do it. I mean, I can't think of any fucking negative to that at all. Dominic shouldn't lose. You can't even try to pretend to come up with a negative here, because I'm not going to agree with it. It's a good idea, and I think it would mean a lot for Cena. It would mean a lot for Dominic. It would give Cena maybe an extra match that we're not expecting, but if he's going to be on Raw in Madison Square Garden, I would hate for him to not wrestle. Last chance being in that building, you would want a final match there. So that's what I would do if I'm Triple H, but I'm not Triple H. I'm just not. So they're probably not going to do that. So if this idea that I have freaks you out or makes you butthurt for any reason, don't worry. Probably ain't going to happen anyway. So it's moo. It's a cow's opinion. So don't even worry about it. But if it did happen, I think that would be the best way to do it instead of just, because if you did it the other way, if Cena just goes into Survivor Series and just loses to Dom, that means he's losing just his final two matches. If he gets the win first against Dom and then loses, maybe it's a little bit different. But I'm worried that there's a chance that John Cena might not wrestle at Survivor Series, but he has to wrestle Dom. He really should wrestle Dominic Mysterio before he's done here in just a few weeks. So that's what I would do. I would have Cena beat Dom in the Garden for the title in 2 weeks, and then Dom win it back at Survivor Series. And then John Cena goes into his final match on December 13th, which was our next segment. We weren't expecting to get this. It was a video. John Cena was not on Saturday night's main event in person, but they did do a video, and they started with a clip from an interview that he did with Tom Rinaldi. And I didn't catch when they're going to release the entire interview in its entirety. It might already be out today. I only saw what we saw last night, where he reiterated that he is a man of his word, and when he says that December 13th will be his final match, he means it. He will never get physical again. And he even said, he goes, I don't like to talk in absolutes, but I 100% guarantee that I will never be this John Cena in a wrestling ring again. He may do some appearances, he may show up one time, but he's never going to be John Cena again. He's never going to get physical wearing his hat and his wristbands and his shirt ever again. And Taker has kind of done something a little similar, right? Taker said something to the same effect, like he's not going to wear his Undertaker stuff, but he still does make appearances. So John Cena, he might be goaded into making an appearance in a WrestleMania main event and one of them crazy overbooked Cody and Roman style main events that they did a couple years ago and show up in one of those things. But if he does, he's going to have probably wear plain clothes and have a weird haircut or something. Who knows what kind of John Cena will we ever see? But I kind of wish he didn't say that, because I always feel like, 5 to 10 years from now, he could show back up and do a match kind of the way Steve Austin did with Kevin Owens. There might be somebody in the company that's such a perfect opponent for John Cena that you just can't help but begging John Cena to come back for one more match 10 years after he retired. I would never say never, and I don't like that Cena has now painted himself into a corner, but I do admire the fact that he says, and he's swearing that it's going to be his final match, and he does not want to go back on that word. But some guys have waited Austin waited nearly 20 years from his last match before he went back on his word. And it felt like he really meant it. I never thought we'd see Edge get back in the ring. I never thought we'd see Shawn get back in the ring. Terry Funk, Mick Foley, Piper, guys like that, you would expect them to not follow through with a retirement. But I believed Austin and Shawn. I believed both of them, and they both came back. So, why am I going to believe Cena here? Cena has a chance to actually do it and mean it, because he physically could work longer if he wanted to. You look at somebody like Batista, who had his final match with Triple H a few years back. You can tell in that match, physically, he's done. He is done. He does not need to ever wrestle again. But John Cena, you never know. You never know in this biz. But John Cena is adamant that this will be it December 13th. After that, never again. Then they go into a video promoting his final match and who his opponent is going to be. We got to shout out Dave Meltzer here. He was the one that originally reported this rumor a few weeks ago that WWE was planning to do a tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent. And that would make sense because WWE was so lazy with the Seth Rollins injury. We were all saying, oh yeah, deadly game, let's do it. Deadly game tournament, one night tournament, crown a new champion. They're not going to do a tournament and then do a tournament. You know what I mean? Shit, AEW is about to fire up the Continental Classic, aren't they? So they're not going to do that, just do two tournaments basically or essentially at the same time. And since they already had that idea planned for John Cena, that's why I suppose they didn't do a tournament to determine the new champion when Seth had to vacate the title. So John Cena is going to get the tournament instead. It's going to be a tournament to give everybody an opportunity to face him in his final match. And he says that the tournament is going to start 1 week from tomorrow on Raw in Boston, and it's going to feature. This is a big part of the story here. It's going to feature wrestlers from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and some who don't work here. Well, shit, WWE. You know what that's going to do to the fans, right? There's only one name that's going to pop in their head when you say something like that, and that's going to be Edge, Adam Copeland. Is Adam Copeland going to come back to the WWE and be a part of this tournament? No, he is not. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but WWE, I feel like they just secretly love it. They got it. They know that their fans are stupid, and they know that they're going to think that is going to happen or that be a possibility. But you shouldn't set the fans up for disappointment like that. You shouldn't tease something like that when this has already been out there in the universe. Fans have been speculating about Edge coming back for a little while, even though there's no chance of that happening. He's under contract to AEW. There is bad blood between the companies right now on the management side. Wrestlers all love each other and root for each other and support each other. The management and, the powers that be in both companies, they're the ones who don't like each other. And WWE are breathtakingly petty little bitches, like almost too petty to be believed. Like, how can a company be that much of a little bitch? So there is no fucking way that these companies are going to work together, even though I've pitched ever since AEW's existence of just a little bit better of an arrangement or a better of a relationship between the two than what WWE and WCW had. I don't think it benefits anybody. Doesn't benefit AEW, doesn't benefit WWE, and as sure as shit, doesn't benefit the fans to have these companies hating each other. You can be competitors. You can always try to outdo the other one. Great. We need that as fans. But this hatred, this pettiness, this bitterness, that feels like it's way more on WWE's end than AEW's end, but it does exist on both sides, and it sucks. And it basically eliminates any chance for anything like that to happen. I've pitched several times, WWE and AEW doing each other favors here and there. We've seen small bits of that. Jericho, Danielson, maybe even Big Show. I forgot, a bunch of them made videos for John Cena's 20th anniversary celebration thing, right? Jericho was on Broken Skull Sessions. Very, very early on, Billy Gunn was on the Hall of Fame before AEW really started, and that's when Triple H said they'd buy that pissant company or whatever. And so we've seen little bits of it, but the relationship is so rooted in animosity now that there's just no way they're ever going to work together or cooperate ever. And I think that sucks for both companies because both companies are going to need favors from the other one. There's going to be a Hall of Fame somewhere where WWE's really going to want someone, or AEW is going to want a favor, or maybe use some video footage or something like that. And I really wish the companies were on good enough terms to where if a favor was needed, that favor can be done in exchange for a favor in the future, that type of thing. Just a little bit of, cooperation is all we're asking for here. But that's never going to be the case with these companies. And Edge, Adam Copeland, whatever, will not be in this tournament. And he sure as hell isn't going to be John Cena's final opponent. So get that out of your head. You can probably get Chris Jericho out of your head too, because Jericho, from what we understand, is still under contract to AEW through the end of this year. But he's coming back to WWE. We know that for sure. He will be back in WWE. He will probably be at the Royal Rumble. As a matter of fact, he was at the World Series game, right? With, I think, were they in Toronto or Tampa? I forgot, but Jericho and Owens were somewhere at a game. Were they at a hockey game or were they at the World Series? Anyway, they took a picture together. So the Festival of Friendship could be coming back to WWE TV one day, and I hope that it does. So Jericho, he's now hanging out with WWE guys. He's definitely coming back, but I don't think he's going to be one of the people in the tournament. When John Cena says, and even people who don't work here, he means TNA. That's what he means. So don't get too excited about some AEW star or some massive blast from the past is coming back. He means TNA. And here's the names that I think are the most likely to be in the tournament from TNA. Number one, Joe Hendry, because Joe Hendry has been lobbying, I think, right? And people have been lobbying for him to get a match with John Cena. And I've been laughing all year about that. I'm like, he's not going to get a match with John Cena. There's no fucking way Joe Hendry is going to get a match with John Cena. It's not going to happen. I do not see Joe Hendry as the future that some fans see him as. He's got a catchy song, yay. But what other than that? In the ring, what makes him stand out more than anybody else? Nothing. Nothing. He's got a fucking catchy song. That's it. So it ain't going to happen. He's not going to be wrestling John Cena, but he could be in the tournament to wrestle John Cena. So Joe Hendry, I absolutely believe will be in it. I think somebody like Dolph Ziggler could be in it, or Nick Nemeth, maybe even a Jeff Hardy, maybe even a Matt Hardy, maybe even a Matt Cardona. Speaking of Matts, you talk about somebody who's been lobbying for shit. Holy crap. Matt Cardona has been practically begging to get back in WWE. Now, Chelsea Green had just signed a new extension with the company. So maybe when she signed that extension, hey, can you get my husband on TV somehow or get him in here? And they don't want to sign him. But if Cardona, who has, remember, a lot of history with John Cena dating back to 2011-ish or whatever it was, or 2012-ish with Kane and oh man, hot diva, what's her name? The one that was actually good. Eva, what the fuck was her name? She was like trained by the Gracies, right? Why can't I think of Eve something? Eve Torres. I think Eve Torres. Anyway, remember they wheeled him off Kane wheeled Zach off the ramp with the neck brace and the wheelchair, all that shit. And then Cena was kissing Eve, I think, or Eva, whatever her fucking name is, and all that. So anyway, Cardona would be an excellent choice. So I feel like Ziggler, Cardona, Joe Hendry, or either one of the Hardy Boys could be in the match, or in the tournament, I should say. So when they say people who don't work here, they just mean TNA. So it's going to be a letdown. I think it's silly and stupid of WWE to say that because a lot of fans are going to think that it's Edge. I think fans don't really deep down think that. Maybe if you're 12 years old, you don't know any better, and you're like, oh, it's totally going to be Edge. It's not totally going to be Edge. I'm sorry. I hate to disappoint you. But WWE shouldn't do that. They shouldn't tease their less informed audience members by saying, people who don't work here, oh my God, it's going to be Edge, and then it's not Edge. But in terms of who wins the tournament, my pick has not changed. Gunther. Gunther wins the tournament. When they were rolling through during the video, showing random stars, they showed Gunther. So that was basically them saying Gunther's going to be in it. Gunther ain't going to lose this tournament. He's taking some time off after losing the World Heavyweight Championship. He's not going to come back and his return is going to be losing in round number 2 of a tournament. No fucking way. He's winning this whole thing, and he's going to be facing John Cena last, and he's going to beat John Cena. That is absolutely what is going to happen. Gunther is going to defeat John Cena. So the only thing that would change that is if the fat, senile, orange dipshit that currently runs this country, if he's going to show his face here, maybe they don't want Gunther. Maybe they don't want, maybe they want Cena versus an American. Maybe it's got to be an all-American main event or something like that. And then like Trump finds out it's Gunther. I don't want this foreign guy in there or whatever. He's going to, because they're, oh my God, and then they change it. And then let's put John Cena in the ring against fucking Matt Cardona or something like that. Or some American, and then have American flags everywhere. Oh my God. So as long as, sanity prevails here, it should just be John Cena versus Gunther, and Gunther should beat John Cena. And that's the way it should go. I can't think of any other opponent that would be better. Some people want Dominic as his final opponent. I might be okay with that if Survivor Series wasn't in Petco Park, but that's where I would do Cena and Dom is at Survivor Series. I would do what I pitched earlier with Cena winning the title at Madison Square Garden and then dropping it back to Dom at Survivor Series. But Dominic, I don't think should be Cena's final match. I think it should be Gunther. I think it will be Gunther. And at this point, I would be very surprised if it was anybody but Gunther. But we still have to see the brackets. We have no idea what the actual field will be like, and they're probably going to release that sometime in the next week, or it's going to have to be prior to next Monday's Raw, 1 week from tomorrow. In Boston, we're going to have to get the bracket. If it's out, let me know. If it's out, oh my God, there you go, Ryan. What if it's John Cena versus the All-American American Jack Swagger? Oh my God. Yeah, that's what they're going to change it to. That would be fun. So, it's in my mind, it's going to have to be Gunther, and he's the one that, to me, at this point, makes the most sense. All right, and that leaves us with our main event, CM Punk versus Jey Uso for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. In my predictions, I had said that I believe this is Punk's match to win. I like the ideas of the Vision showing up and screwing up the match and them crowning a champion at a later date, but I didn't feel like that was possible. The only way I would really want to do that is if you did do like a Deadly Game tournament, and they're not going to do a Deadly Game tournament when they already have the John Cena tournament planned. So I didn't feel like we were going to get anything too weird here. I felt like Punk actually would win the championship. Some people felt Jey should. A lot of people were telling me that when I said that this card was easy to predict, a lot of people said the Jey and Punk match was 50-50. I never thought it was. You know, Jey Uso, we just had him as world champion. We saw his run. We saw what it was. Jey Uso certainly hasn't improved in that time. And he's got a great entrance. Of course, he's very over, and the fans love him, and he high-fives the kids, and all that is great and wonderful. But we just, and he might have had a better chance if maybe he hadn't already won the world championship. But we already saw his run. WWE ended it. To go back to it would be weird, even though it would tie in pretty well to the Roman Reigns stuff. You know, but then what would you do? Jey Uso and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? I don't think the fans want to see that. I don't. I want a more intriguing match. I want Cody and Punk. I want Punk or Roman. I want a match like that. So I believe that Punk was going to walk out of the show with the championship tonight, and Punk is the type of guy that I believe really would appreciate the sentence, I won the world championship on Saturday night's main event. Like if I was a wrestler, you know, I'd be 48 years old in the ring right now, and I grew up on Saturday night's main event, and for me to win a world championship on Saturday night's main event would be very cool to me personally. A fan 20 years younger, or a wrestler 20 years younger than me might not give a shit in the world about it, but I do. And I think Punk does as well. So for people thinking, oh, they're not going to crown a new champion on this Peacock Saturday night's main event, yes, they are. You know, and Punk won it. And I'm happy that he got a chance to win that on a show like this. And if Seth Rollins wouldn't have gotten injured, I don't even think this match would have happened. Because a lot of people were like, oh, Punk wouldn't have won the title if Seth wasn't injured. He would have lost. I'm like, I don't even think they would have booked a match at all. Because they did the number one contenders match on Raw between Punk and Knight and Uso or whatever it was. They did that already knowing about the Seth injury. So I think this was their way of crowning the new champion. Put Punk in it as the number one contender and then a battle royal for the opponent. So I don't even think they would have done this match at all had Rollins not gotten injured. I mean, maybe they would, but I thought they were saving Punk to eventually beat him for the championship. But I'm glad it was Punk and not Jay, because Jay is just not good in the ring, man. I have a feeling like Jay could be turning heel. He posted something on either Twitter or Instagram last night after his loss saying, y'all win, and a middle finger emoji. So maybe he's turning heel, but it would be weird to turn him heel when he's so over as a babyface, but they have been teasing some sort of an attitude change in him, and that might be the best thing for him at this point, because he's literally 100% entrance at this point. This match was the worst match of the night. The main event was the worst match of the night, and a lot of it was due to the same type of shit that we always see from Jey Uso. Very, very lazy work. Everything comes off clunky and slow and unathletic when he's in the ring. And I hate thinking that way about Jey Uso, because Jey Uso has got a big contingent of fans online that have a stick up their ass about him. And I like Jey Uso a lot. I like that whole damn family. I like Jey Uso. I love his entrance. I love his connection with the fans. I love what he brings to the table. But in the ring, he doesn't bring very much. His matches are not exciting. His moves are not crisp. They're not good. They're very just weak looking. And this match had a whole bunch of just horrible looking shit in it. And the first one was like that weird-looking neck breaker spot. Punk was trying to twist Jey Uso up in a neck breaker, basically like a rude awakening, but when he turned it, Jey just kept rotating. Like, I don't know what Jey thought Punk was doing, but they fell to the mat, and you could see the frustration on Punk, and he snatched him back up, and he hit it with him again. Like, sell, motherfucker. You know, do what you're supposed to do. And there was another spot, and Jey wasn't the only one that didn't look great here. Punk had a couple of questionable spots here as well, but there was a horrible little exchange here where Jey Uso hit CM Punk with a GTS, and then CM Punk then hit Jey Uso with a spear. That looked like shit. And I think the best looking GTS of the night was the one that knocked Jey out of the ring, because we had a lot of finishers being hit. We had a lot of spears, a lot of GTSs in this match being hit. I think we had like 4 or 5 GTSs in total, but the best one was the one kind of near the ropes over by the timekeepers area, and Punk hit the GTS over there, and the way Jey sold it was tremendous. He fell down and he rolled out of the ring. I thought that was the best looking GTS of the entire match. Even the superplex, Punk hit Jey with a superplex, and even that looked gnarly. Like the way he came down, it just, they weren't lined up. They came down pretty tight near the corner, and Punk just sold the pain like a ton of bricks. That just looked like it hurt. Like they just didn't feel like they were in sync. Jay and Punk have wrestled before, and we've seen better matches from them before than this one. And then, Punk as well, he didn't look too great here. This is what I think was going to be the finish, and they stalled and went through another exchange and redid it. So the finish, I believe, was going to be CM Punk hitting Jey Uso with the GTS, which he did, hits the GTS, Jay hits the ropes and then kind of falls onto Punk, who's down on his knees in fireman's carry. And so Punk is going to lift him up to hit him with the second GTS, but he can't. He's getting up with Jay on his shoulders, and he buckles and they fall backwards. So Punk was not strong enough to lift him up off the mat like that, and he fell down. And then they go through another exchange. Punk locks in the Anaconda Vice, and then there's a couple of other moves in the ring, and then it's right back to the same spot. GTS, Jay hits the ropes, comes back. This time Punk isn't all the way down on the mat, and he's able to lift him back up and hit him with the second GTS and score the win. So it basically looked like they had to redo the entire finish because Punk fell backwards. And they're like, all right, abort. Let's go into the Anaconda Vice and have another exchange, couple more near falls, and then we'll redo the spot. And that's what they did. And Punk hit the second GTS, pins Jey Uso, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, which was absolutely the right call. I had zero interest in seeing Jey Uso as the World Heavyweight Champion again. And I'm not saying this from a source of like hate or anger towards Jay. I don't dislike him. I just don't want him to be world champion. It doesn't interest me. Punk interests me way more. And now Punk is the new world heavyweight champion. And that's when we saw backstage, we saw that photo of Jade and Punk and Cody and Ricky Starks. And there was even a video backstage of Cody putting Punk's belt on for him. So cute. He put it on, he strapped it behind him, and then he kind of grabs both sides of it, and he goes, boom. Adorbs. Totes adorbs. Makes me want a Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk match. Doesn't it make you want that? I'm kind of hoping we get that at WrestleMania. So now we have to wonder, what's the plan for CM Punk now that he's world champion? Who's he going to face next? Who's he going to drop the belt to? And what's going to happen at WrestleMania? Now, a lot of fans are under the assumption, I saw this a lot on social media last night and today, that since Punk is now world champion, this automatically means that he is taking the championship into WrestleMania. It does not mean that. I don't think it means that at all. I'm not convinced he will. He might. He very well might go into WrestleMania as champion, and if he does, great. No problem. But I'm not convinced that that's the plan yet. It might be, but I'm not convinced yet. And I've already talked about this when Seth was still champion before he got injured. I thought it was going to go Seth to CM Punk, then CM Punk to Roman Reigns, then Roman Reigns to Braun Breaker. I feel like when Braun Breaker wins the championship, it would be a bigger victory for him to beat Roman Reigns than CM Punk. So I think Punk should drop the title to Roman. Now, if Punk and Roman are going to be, apparently the plan here, or was for a Punk and Roman-led War Games team going up against a Vision-led War Games team. The Seth injury might have fucked that up. We don't know yet. We'll know soon enough because they have to start building the Survivor Series on the very next TV, which is tomorrow. So we'll know that soon enough, or at least get an idea of what direction they might be going in here. But now that Punk is champion, I feel like he should drop the belt to Roman Reigns. Now, will he hold it until WrestleMania and drop it to Roman there? A Roman and Punk match and a Roman and Punk Mania program could be very fun. So I'm perfectly open to that. With Roman Reigns winning the Chamber or winning the Rumble and then challenging CM Punk. But here's my problem with that. The only way that would work is for Roman to win the Chamber, or for the Rumble winner to pick the World Heavyweight Champion. Basically, I think like if Roman were to win the Royal Rumble, I suppose you could always pre-plant an issue between Roman and Punk. Maybe they do a finish at Survivor Series and the two just don't get along and they're jawing and bitching at each other. So then when Roman Reigns wins the Rumble, he just picks CM Punk. But I feel like the winner of the Rumble is probably going to pick the Cody belt. So if Roman is going to face Punk at Mania, the only way that's going to work is if Roman wins, if Roman wins the Chamber. because because the Royal Rumble winner will have picked Cody. So if Roman wins the Rumble, I just don't see it happening that way. I feel like a better way to get Roman as the World Heavyweight Champion isn't for him to win a match that automatically gives him the shot against CM Punk, is you just do the match with CM Punk. And I think Royal Rumble would be a perfect spot for that. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the championship at the Royal Rumble. And Roman beats him. Roman beats him for the championship. Now Roman is champion. And then later on that night, you have Braun Breaker win the Royal Rumble. Or Sami Zayn win the Royal Rumble. And then Roman goes in to face them. But I think, if Sami won, he would challenge Cody. So I don't think Sami would challenge Roman. But yeah, if Sami won the Rumble, he could challenge Cody as well. But I think Punk could also have a chance to do that. So if you have Punk drop the title to Roman, Punk could then turn around the next month and win the Chamber and then face Cody somehow. So you could still get to Punk and Cody at Mania if you wanted to. And Punk doesn't necessarily have to be world champion going into Mania. He can drop it early. It just depends on when they want to launch Braun Breaker. And I personally feel like maybe WrestleMania is a bit too early. You might have to have Braun Breaker in some other type of a match at WrestleMania, and maybe you wait until SummerSlam for him. But I feel like that's the problem with this. I feel like Mania might be too early, but SummerSlam might be too far off, Like Braun Breaker is, you're not going to be able to tread water with this guy for another 10 fucking months. So maybe you have Punk get beat by Roman, and then Roman drops the belt to Braun Breaker. And the best way to do that, I suppose, is for Breaker to win the Rumble. And if he wins the Rumble, maybe Breaker's the type of guy that say, hey, I'm on Raw. This is the belt I've been interacting with. This is the one I want. It might not occur to Breaker to jump over to SmackDown and challenge for that championship. So if Breaker were to win the Rumble, he just might challenge the world champion straight out. But you might just also want to wait. You might want to wait until SummerSlam because you got to remember, you got that King of the Ring. You got that King and Queen of the Ring. So you put Breaker on that path that we see and we've seen in the past. And you have Braun Breaker have a big win, some sort of a big major win at WrestleMania of some kind, some big attraction match against somebody, and he wins. Maybe Breaker and Gunther or something. And Breaker wins. Then Breaker goes into the King of the Ring, wins that, and then goes into SummerSlam to face the champion of his brand, right? Which could be Roman Reigns by that point, and then Breaker wins at SummerSlam. I'd be fine with that. And then if you did that, you could book the Roman Reigns and CM Punk match at WrestleMania instead of trying to get it done early at the Rumble. Punk carries the title into WrestleMania, drops it to Roman, Braun Breaker wins the King of the Ring, and it's Roman and Breaker at SummerSlam, and that's when you make Breaker. So that might be the way to do it. That might be the best way to do it. You also have LA Knight in there. Is there a way in here somewhere to get LA Knight a quick run? Just a quick one. Maybe Punk drops the title to LA Knight, and then LA Knight drops the title to Roman. Or maybe Punk drops the title to LA Knight, and LA Knight drops the title to Braun Breaker. But Braun Breaker and LA Knight just had a match on Raw last week. So let me know where you think it goes. But I'm still of the belief that the next person in line after Punk should probably be Roman to win that championship and put his name on that legacy. And then Breaker can beat Roman Reigns for that belt. That's what I think should happen. Let me know what you think should happen. Let's check out the chat. Brian Adams, that's another good point. What if Braun and Bronson win the tag titles at Mania? I feel like they would win the tag titles way earlier than that. I wouldn't even book that match for Mania because it would be too obvious what would happen. If it's, who the fuck are the champions right now? AJ and Dragon Lee? I would just do it on TV. I would have Reed and Breaker win the tag team titles on Raw. I would have them beat AJ Styles and Dragon Lee right there on Raw. They don't need to win it at Mania. They can just be champs going into Mania and then maybe face like 5 teams and beat them all. Or maybe they're so big and bad, they just welcome an all-star tag. We'll take on a team from Raw, a team from NXT, and a team from SmackDown in a 4-way, 4 corners tag match or something like that, and they beat them. You could do that. It just kind of depends on how WWE wants to manage Breaker's ascent to the top, because he will get to the top next year. And to me, it doesn't really matter which one of these shows he wins it on. One's not going to be too early. One's not going to be too late. I really don't care, but some of the fans might. So you don't want Breaker to do something too insignificant at WrestleMania, because then you're going to have the fans thinking, oh, they forgot about him or whatever. I'm like, no, there's too many people at the top right now. They're going to wait a little longer with Breaker. But like I've been saying, one thing that's been bothering me about Braun Breaker on TV is that he hasn't seemed like he has that intensity or that rage that he once had. Even when him and Bronson Reed were taken out of that Battle Royal, he was talking to Paul Heyman about it very calmly. Like, where's this unpredictable, rampaging beast that we thought this guy was going to be, who's just fucking nuts, who's twitchy and spazzy and foams at the mouth and, that type of stuff. That's the Braun Breaker I like. This subdued guy where he's speaking in a normal tone is weird. He's way too intense for that. So, you got to see him kind of break out of that. I think everything going on with the Vision right now, eventually Breaker might reach his breaking point with these guys. And we still have to see if the plan is to incorporate an Austin Theory, which apparently was the plan. But now that Seth got hurt, we don't know if we're going to see that or not. So we got to see what they do, what Heyman does, how they try to manage this Vision storyline in the absence of Seth Rollins, and what the plans are going into War Games. We will have to see. Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat here about all this nonsense. I got a couple super chats I need to hit. Let me thank real quick Michael Cuomo for the $5. Thanks, dude. So, Greg, how much will it take for you to do a parody of the WWE signature with you doing the 70-year-old Triple H? Dude, I could do that. Yeah, I could put together a new intro for the channel, a signature. Then, now, forever. And a bunch of clips of me over the years. Yeah, I could do it. I mean, a 15-second intro like that will probably still take me a couple hours to do. But I could definitely do it. That would be kind of fun. Then, now, forever. How much will it take? I'll tell you what. You super chat me $1,000, it'll be done by tonight. But otherwise, you're just going to have to wait until I have time to get that done. But I do love the idea. Jonathan Cantris, appreciate the $2. Do you think Jericho could be in the tournament? I don't think he will be. Only because we have heard that his contract is up at the end of the year. Now, we don't know for sure, but it sounds like it runs out at the end of 2025, which I don't think will allow him to be in the tournament. Plus, if Jericho was in the tournament, I don't think Jericho's going to win the tournament, I think Cena's last opponent is going to be Gunther. So if you're going to bring Jericho back, bring him back in the most effective way, and I don't think being in this tournament would really be that effective. It would probably be the equivalent, though, of showing up in the Rumble, because I don't think he would win the Rumble either. So take your pick. Either having a match in the tournament and getting ousted, or being thrown over the top rope in the Royal Rumble. I think both are going to happen to Jericho, or both would happen to Jericho. But I don't think I would put him in the tournament, and plus I don't think he's out from under the AEW contract yet. So I think he legally can't be in the tournament. So as of right now, no, Jericho will not be in the tournament, at least in my estimation. What does the final boss doing these days? Who cares? Who cares? I don't want to see the final boss again. I have no interest in the final boss. He can poontang his ass on out of here. I was at that show, by the way. So Max has got LA Knight beating Punk on a Raw because Jay gets involved. Roman beats Knight at the Rumble, and Punk beats Jay again at the Rumble. Sammy wins the Rumble and challenges Cody. So you've got Punk and Jay just in a straight one-on-one match with no title on the line at the Royal Rumble. I could see that happening maybe, but that match is going to suck. But they need to be in the Rumble. Punk and Jay, if they had that one-on-one match, they need to also be in the Rumble to get eliminated. But that is one idea I had. I'm like, if you could squeeze in an LA Knight victory somehow, I'd be into that. And this issue between them isn't over because Jay looks like he might be heading towards a heel turn. I don't know. Got to factor in Jimmy here. And whatever's going to happen at War Games, it might be Punk, Roman, LA Knight, and the Usos, who are not getting along against a bunch of Vision guys, or maybe Jay jumps over to the Vision. We don't know yet. But if LA Knight found a way to get the title, I'd be happy for him. But I don't see it happening. I might want to see it happen, but I just don't see. I don't think LA Knight is going to win the championship. Sexy Ted Lasso. That's what I call him. I think he should. When it comes to guys who you're putting the title on simply, or mostly, I should say, because of their connection with the fans, if you're doing it with Jay, why would you not do it with LA Knight? What's the difference there, really? LA Knight, I'd argue, is better in the ring right now currently than Jey Uso is. I don't think Jey Uso 10 years ago was a worse wrestler than Eli Drake, but I think right now Jey Uso is a worse wrestler than LA Knight. And if you're going to put the belt on Jay, why not put it on Knight? Triple H approach, hey, we're going to strap a rocket to your back because we see the reaction you get. Well, you see the reaction LA Knight gets too. How come you're not going to strap a rocket to him? Strap a rocket to LA Knight. No, I can't do his voice sometimes. So, yeah, LA Knight. I'm all for it. Winning the championship. I just ain't holding my breath. Because if I do, I'll pass out. Because I don't think he's going to win the championship. Cody versus Randy we already got, what the fuck did we get? When did Cody and Randy wrestle? Didn't they wrestle this year? What match? What the fuck am I thinking of? Like they wrestled as friends or something? Why don't I know what the fuck's going on with that? I thought Cody beat Randy already. I don't know about Cody and Randy at WrestleMania, unless Randy Orton turns heel, but I'm not sure. Brock Lesnar is another name to consider, although I think Brock Lesnar is going to be, hopefully, confined to the SmackDown brand over there. That's where he is currently. So for Brock to find his way on Raw, he's going to have to win the Rumble or something. He's going to have to win the Rumble and then challenge Punk for the championship. Is Brock and Punk at WrestleMania? I don't know about that. But you got to factor in Brock, too. He's all over that fucking WrestleMania poster. They put Brock Lesnar on there instead of Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley, a top 5 caliber star in the company, one of the most over people they have. And they put Brock, who hasn't been in the company in 2 years due to the fact that he was named 44 times in a sex trafficking lawsuit. They stuck him in the ad and not Rhea Ripley. Yeah, that's WWE for you. That is WWE for you. Oh, yeah, King of the Ring finals. Or wrestled for the Crown Jewel title. That's what it was. Oh, that's right, because Cody won the King of the Ring and faced John Cena at SummerSlam, right? He beat Randy in the finals of the King of the Ring. But then they also wrestled for the Crown Jewel title? I have no memory of anything. I don't even remember what happened 3 fucking months ago. But I felt like Cody and Orton happened already. And I would still like to see, Randy turn heel and for a big program to happen between the two. But I worry that ship kind of sailed already. Just feels like that a little bit to me. Yes, JT, it's Brock. He can be on any brand at any time. Nobody is questioning that. There's not a reason for him to be. We know Brock can go over there if he wants, but there's not a storyline reason for him to be on Raw right now. So it would be stupid to put him over there. So whatever Brock is doing, it's going to be on SmackDown, at least for right now. The only way they would throw him over on Raw is if he did win the Rumble and he challenges for that championship, or there's a storyline reason to put him over there. And there might be, because that's where Paul Heyman is, and they might want to factor him into division somehow. But Brock hasn't even been on television since he beat John Cena, and everything he's done on TV since coming back has been on SmackDown. So sure, he can come to Raw, but there's no real reason to bring him over there right now unless they need to use him with the Seth Rollins injury situation with the Vision. That's the only thing that would put him over there. He wouldn't just randomly walk over there because he could. Brock likes to work less dates, not more. So I don't see that being a thing unless WWE wants him to. And Brock isn't the only one with that luxury. There is anybody. We've just seen that. They've been displaying that to us every damn week on TV. You can go on any show. It does not matter if you're a champion on Raw. You can show up on SmackDown. You're not going to be denied access to the building. You're allowed in there. So Brock has the exact same privilege that everybody else on the roster has. Anybody can be on any show at any time. We're back to that. It is 2001 again, folks. So they all have that luxury. Who has more of a shot to face Lesnar at Mania, Gunther or Breakker? Now, I had mentioned earlier, Breakker, maybe WrestleMania being too early for him to win the World Championship. SummerSlam might be better, especially if he wins King of the Ring. And one of the things I said on the road to that is that he should get a big win at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar would be the perfect guy. Brock Lesnar versus Braun Breaker. You bring Brock over to Raw somehow in the vision. Breaker is immediately threatened by him, or there's issues there between the two, and you use Brock to put Braun Breaker over. Breaker beats Brock, then Breaker wins King of the Ring, then Breaker wins the championship. It would be a really similar road to what Brock himself took in 2002. Or, better yet, you find a way to get the belt on Brock. You find a way to get the belt on Brock so Breakker can take it from him. I feel like Breakker and Gunther should both be beating Roman and Brock in matches in the future here in the next year or so. And it would be cool if those matches were for championships. So Breakker could just beat Brock for the title. Brock might win the belt from Cody, or Brock might win the belt from Punk. And then you have Breakker beat Brock. So Breakker beating Brock or Breakker beating Roman, I think both would achieve the same thing for Breakker. And then Gunther can either beat Roman or Gunther can beat Brock. So I think both Brock and Roman should be doing some jobs next year, but that's a good idea. Brock against either Gunther or Braun Breaker at WrestleMania, you don't need a championship for that. That would be a pretty big attraction match one way or the other. So I like it. I like that idea. But anyway, I think I need to take a break before we come back in about a little bit over an hour to watch Survivor Series 1999. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be watching that in just a little bit. The link is up on the channel right now, so make sure you save that. And join us here in just a little bit as we travel back 26 years ago and watch Steve Austin get ran over by a car. And then he missed the main event, and they put over Paul White. What a show. The card does look kind of fun, though. So we're going to watch Survivor Series 1999, and I have not gone back and watched the show probably since the night it aired. And I remember watching it the night it aired. So we're going to watch that here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now so I can take a quick little break and regroup, and we will be back in just a bit. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about last night's Saturday night's main event, and now that CM Punk is world champion, what the plans are going to be for him, for Roman Reigns, for Braun Breaker, for Brock Lesnar, for Cody Rhodes, and for Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair and everybody else heading into WrestleMania. We are just a couple of months away from things getting real interesting around these parts. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out. You guys have a good hour and a half break here, and I'll be catching you back in just a little bit for Survivor Series 1999. Talk to you then. Peace.